Hey there, divers! Let's go to Parson's Landing on Catalina Island. Parson's Landing is located on the west end of Catalina Island, popular with divers. We weren't the only boat on the site today, mainly comprised of shallow kelp forest and small rocky structure. It's a great place to just have a good time. Today we're anchored up right about here on the western side of the Parson Landing beach. Our dive plan is going to look a little something like this, headed west along the edge of the kelp forest and keeping the reef on our left side. Our average depth is going to be between 15 and 35 feet with a quick bop out to about 80-85. There we're going to meet up with some very special friends before making our return trip back to the boat. We're going to start our dive off heading southwest, just weaving through the edge of the kelp forest. There's some nice little islands of rocks and kelp for us to weave through on our scooters. This is some of my favorite scootering to do, making big serpentine patterns, cornering, maneuvering through sparse kelp. It's always nice to lock in and just cruise, not moving a single muscle on your body, but there's something about the process of changing hands back and forth in the grip and just cornering left to right through patches of kelp that's just tons of fun. I always feel like a Blue Angel show pilot when we do these over-under maneuvers past each other. As we're continuing west, we're going to start making our way a little bit deeper, a little bit closer to the northern side of the kelp. We're going to hit the edge of the forest here. We're going to make our way across the gravel. We're going to see a little something glowing in the distance, and we found ourselves a nice little squid breeding ground. The darker patches of eggs here are a little bit older. Not only are they dirtier, covered in a little bit of silt and grime, but also the embryos inside have gotten bigger and the eyes on them are little black dots that are much more visible. Andy is very impressed by the massiveness of this breeding ground. You can see on the floor there's not just egg clutches around, there's also adult bodies. As we're exploring, we spot this adult kind of floating mid-column. I give him a little grab. He's not looking so good, so we're gonna let him settle down. Give him a little wave. Adios, buddy. Normally deep ocean creatures, these squids come in a little bit shallower every year during the winter time to mate in these giant congregations of millions of individuals, lay their eggs, and drop dead. Another cool egg yolk jelly today. The water was nice and clean, so there was lots of pyrosomes and jellies about. We're going to continue exploring the wasteland of eggs and dead bodies out here. This part's a little bit sparser. For whatever reason, the adults like to congregate in very specific spots where they become super dense patches of eggs. I'm going to do a little manual maneuvering here and try and get a nice low and slow shot over the eggs. There was quite a bit of current out here actually, so I didn't have to do too much kicking to get a lot of movement. If you look closely at these shots, there's a couple of adult squids still lively enough to not be rolling around on the bottom. They're a little late for last night's party, but maybe that just means they're early for tonight's orgy. We're about halfway into our dive, so we're going to start heading back now, making a little sand jump between these patches of squid eggs. I couldn't help but give Mr. Krabs here a little flyby scratching. And with that, we're going to be heading back up into the shallower areas, following the edge of the kelp forest, back to the boat, keeping the kelp on our right side. We were fighting the current on the way out, but now we've got a nice little bit of a tailwind, so we're going to be moving swiftly back along the reef. Just like before, I'm trying to pick my path through the kelp stipes here, finding little gaps, openings, paths, and trails. serpentining up and down the width of the forest down its length. You can really see here how far that kelp is pushed over. There's quite a bit of current helping us home. As we get a little closer to the boat, we're going to start running into our shipmates. Here's Tanya and Jen. They're still heading west while we're heading east. Getting way up into the shallows here, less than 20 feet of water. It's amazing how much color you get back in the kelp and the purple algae on the ground and the orange Garibaldis. We're getting a lot closer to the boat now, so we're going to start seeing a lot more of our fellow divers. Here's where I really mess up. Right now it looks pretty open, but it's about to close up pretty tight. This is not really where I want to be scootering. Here I'm trying to pick the kelp stipes off of my thigh pockets. This is definitely a little tighter than I was hoping for. My poor legs are going to get tired from all this kicking. Let's get out of there and look at that. Boat's right in the top right corner of the screen. Of course, I haven't noticed it though, so I'm going to keep heading east for a little while. We've realized our mistake at this point, so we're going to turn around, put the kelp on our left, and head back to the Sundiver Express. There's no better feeling than looking up and seeing the shadow of your boat's hull waiting for you. That's a wrap. See you on the next one.